lawnmower.
What is that game?
Yeah, it's just like you like choose a cat avatar and you can like pay and earn other ones, and pretty much all you do is you go around and just destroy life.
I have to look this up. This is very important for.
Oh my gosh, I gotta figure out what it's called.
Me.
I know it's like my daughter's favorite thing to play.
That is glorious.
On the same.
Destructive cat is what I'm searching for. Destructive cat game, because I feel like that would be.
I need to get my daughter down here so I can ask her what the name of her cat game is. It has a couple neighborhoods and you just break in and just knock food off tables at barbecues and.
So you're a cat? Like you play as a cat?
Yeah, you are the cat.
And then you just wreck stuff. That's like the
you
whole.
just wreck shop and get points. You're just destroying everything.
So wait. Is it cat lateral damage?
I wonder. I don't know the name.
That's a brilliant title.
A first-person video game in which the player plays as cat. The goal of the game is to knock as many of the player's character's owner's belongings onto the floor as possible.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Amazing.
And you break like pots and you like. Yes, it's so fun.
Yeah. It is
like special ones where you get to ride a
very
lawnmower.
highly ranked. 9 out of 10 on Steam, and 98% of people like this game.
Yes.
Oh, man. That's intense. That's intense.
That's delightful.
Yeah, it's like a cat version of like, I don't know, what are those things called? Like the smash rooms where people just go to break stuff to get their rage out.
Where are these?
Yeah, it's like a thing.
I feel like I would feel really bad and apologize for the things I broke. But I'm very intrigued by this.
Yeah, they're like rooms where you can go break things for just you pay, and then it's kind of like how you would pay to do like I don't know, where you get out. What are they called?
Oh, an escape room.
Escape rooms. Yeah, like that. But you go in and you just break stuff. So they have things for you to break that you're supposed to break.
That you're supposed. And then are there levels where you go to bigger houses to break more things? Like,
I think they're just like single rooms and they keep putting things in there, but you can like probably customize it by like what you want to break. Like I enjoy breaking electronics, or like I want to break a car.
Oh, that would be cool. At the beginning, it was like, what are all the things you love to break? And it would provide you a customized game experience.
I think you choose a weapon, like you could do like a hammer, or you could have like a baseball bat, or like you can.
Like you're like Grand Theft Kitty.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I still think I would feel bad, but I kind of want to do it. For the same reason that I've told many people, if you've met me at a convention, and I've said this to you, I apologize if you're hearing it again. I have always had the desire to flip a table. So, no, this is very sweet though. But a fan made me, it was multiple pieces of like computer paper.
Yeah.
She folded it. She brought it to me and she goes, "This is uncomfortable," and set it down. And I was like, "What's happening?" She goes, "Well, I've heard you say in a panel that you wanted to flip a table, but you didn't want to cause any damage. So I made you a table of paper so you can flip it." And I was like, this is very thoughtful, very out of the box. But I flipped it. It was very satisfying, but not. So I told John, if we ever do another season of Confessionals, Riley has to flip a table. I just need to do that once.
Do you want stuff on it? Like, do you want stuff everywhere?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I know if I did it as Cherami, and it wasn't someone that was directing me to do this, if I did it as Cherami, I would feel terrible. And inevitably something would break. And inevitably someone would be filming it. And then I would find it on the internet as like crazy girl loses her mind. I would be like, they said it was okay. I didn't do it out of spite. So I can't do it unless it's like scripted of some nature and it's not me doing it. There's a lot of things that I have written into scripts that have not been produced just because I think it would be funny if someone did it, but I don't want to do it in real life because I don't want people taking me to jail.
I want to be in a bar fight so bad I can't even tell you.
You don't even drink.
I'm not alcohol. Look, what I loved about football is that I could hit anybody. First of all, they didn't see it coming. They're like, I don't care if that little thing hits me. What's it going to do? They used to call me Mad Brad. I didn't care how big you were. Coach would be like, I need a running back through the A-hole. Be like, I got you, Coach. I became
like the smash room then.
But I want to smash. Like, I don't care. I don't care. Give me, bring me.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what a smash room is.
They give you
it's like a real place.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Since through the beauty of technology, I see what you're saying. I
Hulk
see what
smash.
But I don't want to break property.
You're paying them to smash things that they put in there for you to break. That's their business.
But that's reckless. It's so financially irresponsible. Like, we're so rich in America that we can just pay people to break their things. I don't know.
What if you're just breaking like old HP computers that don't work? I know you don't like HPs. I mean,
I guess if you put me in a room full of PCs with a sledgehammer, I could go ham.
PCs that you have to have in S mode.
Oh, I cannot. I'm going to write a letter to Funimation Studios. Maybe they have an advertising deal with Microsoft. Is that what that is? Why?
I think those are just HP computers. Sorry, we had an issue with trying to get this program to run, and I couldn't get my computer out of S mode. But anyway, it was just funny because I thought.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's meant to be.
See, you can.
Guys, I was really bad in an escape room. I don't think I could do a rage room.
What made you bad about the escape room? Like, what did you suck at?
I did an escape room with Josh Greeley.
Yeah.
And Bryce Pappenbrook in Canada, and the convention staff was so nice to take us, and they worked there at this escape room, and they wanted us to try it. And I don't like people coming up behind me if I don't know they're there.
Oh.
I don't like people touching me if I don't know where you're coming. If I can't see you. And so in an escape room, some of them, they can come in and give you clues, and sometimes they can't. Well, we noticed anytime music played, there would be a person that would come in, and they're pretty good about keeping the distance. I don't think they wanted to freak us out, but Bryce thought it was hilarious that anytime the music would play, I got very condescending, and I would be like, Becky, look, I understand that you're on a time limit, and I respect that, but I am trying to solve your murder and the murder of your family. I need you to step off. And if you come near me, I'm going to get very frustrated. I'm just going to stop. But it's your choice, Becky. It's your choice. So, I noticed my fear of her coming near me became like a condescending, kindergarten teacher. It was always like, it's your choice, Becky. It's your choice. So it apparently ruined the room experience for everyone because they were laughing so hard at me. And then there was, you have to go into a closet, and there's people have to be you have to touch this button. And then of course there's a button in a fireplace. And then one of them is closing the door. You're locked in the closet. There's all these things you have to do at the same time. And so they're like, you got to get into this closed closet. And I go, I respectfully decline. And Bryce opted to do that. And I said, okay, I'm going to put my hand inside this fireplace. If someone touches it, I will be very disappointed in you. And luckily, we walked out. We finished the escape room. We got it done in the timeline, but the staff was laughing so hard. And they were like, that was the funniest thing. And I was like, I am so scared. I can't breathe. And they're like, you didn't sound scared. You sounded really annoyed. That everything was just an inconvenience. And her family haunting me was really inconsiderate. So that's apparently how I deal with ghosts. I shame them.
You just start yelling.
No, Bryce said, you never lost your cool.
Oh, really?
You just he was like, it was just like a mom or a teacher, and you use the word, I'm very disappointed in your choices, all the time. And he was like, it was really, really terrible.
Phenomenal. All right, so that's a great segue. What did it mean to be a member of Fairy Tale? This is where I promise everybody on VIP they get to ask questions. I
sweet.
all questions during the free panels because they're free and like I have things I want to know, and so that's what. Although Cherami, I gotta tell you, Cherami kind of she got it last panel. Cherami asked the majority of questions. I think when we go back and watch that tape, Cherami.
I know, I'm so sorry. I ruined
love
everything.
It. Take charge, woman. Take charge. Okay. What does it mean for each of you personally to be part of the Fairy Tale cast? It seems like Fairy Tale is a different kind of anime that has led to a different kind of experience. It took place over a really long period of time. What was it like? How is Fairy Tale different from like being on, just in terms of like what happens outside, in terms of the community, in terms of others that you work with?
Well, for me, it was surprising. I mean, I've said many times in the past that I did not enter this work as a fan, right? Like the only anime I'd ever seen before I started working in this industry was like Speed Racer on Saturday mornings when I was a kid, and Battle of the Planets, such a crush on Jason. Anyway, so I didn't know about these these standard titles, these really beloved shows that are a gajillion episodes, and when for me, I was there. Tyler Walker, who was directing it at the time, pulled me in and said, "Hey, take a look at this Gajil guy. He's rough and gruff, and I don't know. See what you think." And for me, when I go into one of these projects, I usually don't know the title when I'm going in, so I just assess what I see of the character, what I read in the lines, and I figure out what they mean. I had no idea. Doing those initial sessions, what a big deal Fairy Tale was, and like how blessed I had been to be invited to participate in that cast. And it started to become quite evident, and at this point it's I'd say easily one of the most popular titles I've ever participated in on any level. Yeah. So that's, that does change things a bit. And it's, it ends up in a lot more convention invites, things like that. You know what I mean? So for me, it was a completely surprising revelation, but I loved Gajil from like minute one of recording for him. And I just I immediately got him. Right. So, for me, just the character itself was enough for me to love it. But then it was just so beloved, and that was the first time I'd experienced anything on that grand a scale. It was really cool. For me, you definitely picked up work from us because of Gajil. Like, I remember having meetings with Melissa and having meetings with Todd, and they're like pitching me different names, and I'm like, this is probably bad, but I feel like every director does this. If you have somebody that you want for a role and you want that person for the role, right? And so I agreed to let's audition all these people. And I'll tell you what, several of them were like so spectacular. I'm like, okay, Rachel, can we then make this person like someone else? Like, it doesn't work for me for Mike, but I do want them to be somebody else. I remember Jason Douglas. I was like, holy crap. Like, he's not a dick in the way that I need Mike to be, but maybe I want to hear that man in that audiobook series. Like, and so I agreed to go through the audition process. We auditioned a bunch of people and we reviewed all the auditions. And then it was really cool to have everybody come back and be like, nah, David's the guy. I mean, if someone's like, "What's Mike's character?" I'd be like, "It's Gajil, but not in a magical world."
I got to hear your audition, David, in the car. I remember you guys played it for me. It was in the car.
I was so like, David, I can't even tell you what that experience was like. Getting that tape back at Anime NYC, David, when I met you for the first time, I lasted like 12 seconds, and I was like, "Can I please hug you? I was like, and this is, I had been working with Todd, working with, I don't know. There's something about the way, because I don't consider myself a nice guy.
What?
I don't. Like, I'm there for my friends. I will fight. I will protect. I will jump in front of bullets. I will flip cars off you if you're trapped. But I'm not nice. Like, I'm gonna do the right thing. So Gajiel, I was like, dude, that's me, just with better hair. Yeah. So you definitely picked up. So Brittney, what for you has it been like to like to be part of this fan base? You've done a ton of shows, and I'm sure people gush and gush and gush about Wendy.
Wendy, yeah, she's actually like number one gush. But the show had been going on for a while. When Wendy came up, it was like episode 200 or something, like along the 200 line. I mean, it's pretty far in.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember when I auditioned, it was I of course auditioned in my closet like we all did back in the day, and I remember I couldn't get my cat to be quiet enough because she was meowing. I don't know if y'all heard her earlier. She talks a lot. And I remember trying to do the Sky Dragon roar in the audition, and like I couldn't get one where in the middle of the roar there wasn't a cat meow. So I just took the best one with the smallest meow. I remember Tyler being like, "Was that your cat?
Can you do that again?"
Yeah, I remember that. But I don't, the thing about Wendy is she's one of the things that I feel like I can connect the most with my fan bases on, in that when I tell like a young girl to watch Wendy, like in that I think that she's a very good role model. I can be secure in that, and that I think that she's something that young girls can look up to. Like, she starts out really codependent and really weak, and doesn't really, like, she isn't weak, but she doesn't know her own power. And she depends on Carla for all of her guidance. Yeah. And she fumbles a lot, and she's always tripping and saying sorry, which I still to this day am trying to work on not doing all the time, constantly, because I'm that person. And so I really, really felt her on that level. But as the series goes on, she doesn't stay stagnant. She doesn't like stay that same person. She actually grows up, and you get to watch her mature. Which in that part, she's the only character I've ever had that actually matured and became a different character at the end, completely like that, like she does. And
isn't it magical when anime does that? When there's like character progression, it's rare in any serial narrative, and TV shows. Nobody ever learns anything or gets smarter. You know what I mean? Like nobody. The comedy's over as soon as they start learning things.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but when there's progression and characters evolve, I think that's extraordinary.
Yeah, and Fairy Tale has a thing too about it where the relationships between the characters also evolve and change a lot more than a lot of other shows. And I know that also has to do with the amount of time that the shows have gone on. But I remember at the very beginning of the show being like, thinking Carla was really annoying, like for real, being like, oh my God, Carla gets on my nerves because she was so overpowering. She was like that overpowering Girl Scout mom. Yeah. And I just couldn't, that cheerleader mom that's like, you won't get in there and you won't do it, like that person, And so I don't know why that's how I felt that she was. But then as the show goes on, it's almost like a real mother-daughter relationship. And that in the end, your mother realizes that you can do something on your own and just steps back and lets you be your own person. And that's kind of how Carla's relationship with Wendy is. And, so it's very real in that way too.
Yeah, I'm sure part of it is because of the longevity of Fairy Tale in terms of it going on long enough for us to see different facets of each person. Rachel will tell people we gush about Fairy Tale. It's, I'm not a tattoo person. At some point, I want to die with two things on me. I want to die with the Book of Mormon on me, and I want to die with the guild emblem on my body. Like, those are the two things that I want people to find on me when I'm dead. And I want, whether they have to look it up or whether they know what that guild emblem means, Rachel has always said that this is what Christianity would look like if we did it. If we took like the money out of church, if we took some of the politics out of churches, if we took everything that's broken about religion, that Fairy Tale is what religion would look like if we did it right. So Cherami, what about for you? What is it? I mean, you like myself am a religious person. I don't know how much for you that intertwines, but what has the experience of being part of Fairy Tale been like? You did a whole series early. Yeah. What has Fairy Tale been like for you to be part of?
It's very interesting. I think just like someone asked me earlier today, what's it like having played this character for this many years, you don't think about the passage of time. Like I don't think about the fact that I've voiced Lucy for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
I can remember auditioning, and I can remember the first day working on the series, and I can remember the first day we premiered it in New York. And it just, you know, the memory is as real as if it were yesterday. Yeah. But I know that that's not the case. And when I we did Funimation did a video series where we were counting back. The fans voted on Lucy's top favorite moments throughout the series. And so they had me watch back some of the top favorite moments, and a couple of them, I vividly remember all of these moments and I reference them often. But then when I hear them back, I can hear how different my voice is.
Oh,
and
yeah.
not necessarily the tone of my voice or the timbre of my voice, but just the way that I like enunciate words, or I feel like there's a level of confidence and security in my voice that exists now that didn't exist there. And a lot of people will say, well, do you wish that you could redo it again and have it be consistent? I'm like, well, no, just like on a TV show, if we were growing up on an on-camera television show, I would never want to redo what I did 10 years ago, because this show has been a way that I can kind of chart my growth as an individual as Lucy is charting her growth. And while I can have moments like that on every show that I've worked on, I think that acting is very much a sort of my career as an actor, and my journey as an actor is very similar to my spiritual journey, as there have been moments where I feel like you'll get cast in a role at a time where your essence and the time that they're creating that character merges at the exact same moment. And if it's like a sliding door thing, if something had happened and that role comes like even 6 months later, you might not have that same essence that someone else had at that same moment, and it might be a little bit different. It doesn't mean that 6 months from now I might not have done a good job for the role. It just might have been that it was someone else's time to take that on. So I feel incredibly blessed that the way the stars aligned and the way that it all worked out, I got to voice her, because there have been many moments over the course of 10 years that she will be struggling with something, or she will be dealing with something, or she'll make a statement that I'll go, that's what I needed to hear. Or someone else says something in the scene and I go, it's very impactful. And I've had moments like that in everything. So I'm very fortunate to have worked on the show and to be able to work in an industry where I feel like these little nuggets of divine inspiration and divine wisdom find their way to me. Because like I said in the last panel a couple weeks ago, as an actor, you're forced to live in the moment. And when you're forced to live moment to moment, you are able to hone in and allow that inspiration to hit you. Whereas day to day, you miss that stuff because you've got millions of other things that you have to do to keep surviving and keep the wheel going. So it's been great.
It's a hell of an endorsement for the casting director, or if there isn't a separate one for the director. That was one of the most brilliant things I've heard. Because I feel like, as people of faith, we're asked to read books of scripture, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Buddhist, whatever you are, there's some book that they give you and they say, this is your sacred text. And what you get out of that book depends on where you as a person are at. And that's basically what you just said about acting is like, if the director is doing an amazing job, they're literally like picking you out of where you're at in your life and saying, you and this character are going to go together down this. That's freaking awesome. Okay. Thank you. That's spectacular. David, this is your first online convention. Brittney, this is like David, what has it been like to do an online convention compared to the in-person stuff?
It's brilliant. Listen, I hate airports. I don't mind flying, but I hate airports. So like every time I'm booked for a convention, I think, is it worth a trip to the airport? So like this is kind of amazing. It's
Cut
like
the airport right out of it.
Greatest solution. I think it's fantastic.
Brittney, what is your experience? I know you were a little nervous going into like we threw you in with a bunch of fans. Like what has it been like for you?
It's been awesome. I actually really think this is, one of the a blessing that came out of something that wasn't, a good situation. And that we've been forced into actually starting to do these virtual cons. And there's a place for these, I think. And even when, things do eventually really far in the future get back to a normal thing, there's a place for this. There's a place for, there's people who, maybe have social anxiety and can't, get themselves out to the cons. And there's a place now for them because of this outlet. And I think that's really awesome.
I've been really fortunate. Lockie comes to mind, Rob comes to mind. There's a bunch of folks that they live in another country and English is
today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ghazi's another from Australia. I have seen him online so much, but he lives in Australia. And so I was like, Rachel, just tell him on Twitter, we'll figure it out. Just tell him to book. And he was like, time's up. It was, I think, Brittney, he had hung out with you at 3:30 a.m. on his time. And I was like, are you going to the panels? And as soon as he was like, it's 3:30 in the morning, I was like, oh, okay. First of all, thank you for doing this. Thank you for trusting that we would connect you with the person you want to meet when it's 3:30. I'm just, so I think you're right. I think connecting people, it's something that brings me joy. And I hope this is something that lasts, that comes out of it. And then Cherami, I know you were like, are people going to want to see me again in 2 weeks? But
I was really I had so much fun the first time. But I was really hesitant to do it again because I'm like, well, I've gotten to hang out. They're not going to want to talk to me and hang out with me again.
Right.
But you guys did, which is really, really surprising. I mean, I'm super surprised anytime I go to a convention and somebody wants to see me that's already met me once before, or wants to wait in line for an autograph. What? People don't want to wait in line to get into a grocery store right now. So the fact that you would like to wait in line for an autograph in a normal time is just so crazy to me. And it's it is not lost on me what a blessing and that is, and I will always be grateful. Every time I go to a convention and my mom's there and John's there, there's a joke between us that whoever is with me at the time, I look over and before an autograph session, I'm like, okay, so we'll probably be getting lunch in 15 minutes because I don't think anybody's going to be here. And then the staff comes up, they're like, we are going to have to cap the line. I was like, okay. Thinking that it's a giant joke. And I'm surprised every time. And I think everybody thinks that is a lie, and it is not at all. I am genuinely very surprised that I've gotten to meet so many people, and I love getting to talk to them. And the fact that they would want to come back again is just crazy. It's just crazy.
Freaking awesome. So adversity. Patrick wants to, what is it? Life is full of it. Is there something in your life, in the adversity that you face, that kind of confirm that this is your place? This is your lot in life. This is how you're going to add to the world. This is your art that you do is going to be your legacy. Is there something in the adversity that each of you guys have faced that really confirmed that acting is, other than when you freaked out, Cherami, and you said food service isn't going to work and you're a terrible maid?
Well, I mean, I've always wanted to be an actor from I think 2 or 3 years old. My mom said I would go when she was doing laundry. I would pull the laundry out and be doing detergent commercials with the air. And I'd be like, oh, it's clean. She's like, oh, I'm in trouble. And so she put me in a bunch of acting classes for kids that were older than me to try to dissuade me and show me how hard it was, because she did a couple commercials as a kid and hated it. She was like, they would line up the kids and go, you've got the job. The rest of you look weird, and then send them on their way. And she was like, I don't want my child to deal with that. It's a lot of rejection and it's not fair. But I went to the acting class and I loved it. I would stand in line for hours and hours and do a callback, and then they'd send me to another room and then send me to another room for an open call. And just like we were talking about being charged with a battery, acting charges me up. Like I feel centered. I feel at peace. I like we were saying, when we're around a large group of people, sometimes we get a little like, "Ooh, this is a lot. This is just a lot of energy." Well, when I'm on a set, it's a lot of people. There's people like with a microphone and gaffers and like all over the place doing a million things. And I am just, it's like the world is turning, and you just go, man, look at all these people showing off their skills, and I'm just lucky to be a part of it. And instead of being overwhelmed like I am in a daily life, I feel like I can be like an observer, because I'm there to be a character. Right. And I also feel like when I was very shy, that I could do things through the character that I, as Cherami, would not feel comfortable doing. And then when I step off stage or step off set, and I'm like, man, that was such an exhilarating day. I got to do all these things I never thought I would do. But wait, it was me. So maybe I'm a little bit more capable or braver than I thought. And the reason I feel like it's what I'm supposed to do is because the doors keep opening. As soon as the doors start closing, it will be bittersweet, but that means that my journey is going in another direction, and I'm sure it will make me sad if and when that day comes. But then it's time for me to do something else, and that's fine.
Gotcha. Brittney, what about you? Tell me about your adversity. Tell me about that moment where you're like, heck yeah, I'm in the right place.
I think we always will have adversities in your life. You know, I still have adversities, you know, but I don't know. I kind of like fell into it. So I always knew that I wanted to perform, but I used to sing. I used to do like competitive choir, show choir, and then I did musical theater. And I thought for sure that was what I was going to do. And I was as a freshman, I got into Stuart Ostro's musical theater lab, which at University of Houston in Houston was a humongous deal. Because I was the first freshman ever, and they've never taken one after.
Wow.
And that was like, I thought for sure at that moment in my life, that was what I was going to do. And that was whenever I started doing anime, when I was just doing a musical. Somebody said to come in. But the thing was, is as life went on and I couldn't invest as much time in doing musical theater around town, because let's be honest, it just doesn't pay enough money. The amount of time that I had to invest into it, though it was what I was most passionate about, I just couldn't make a living. So I found myself doing more and more anime. It was just another outlet in acting at the time. And I think that at the point where I realized I was actually going to start doing this and not doing that was after ADV went under. And I thought, okay, well, I don't really have any place to do this anymore. So I'm going to be, and I did another musical, and struggled really hard, and I lost my apartment and I couldn't make the bills. And then I started working at Funimation, and I think maybe that was it, where I realized, like, there's every time that a door closes, another one opens.
Did you ever audition for Pitch Perfect?
No, I didn't.
They easily could have put you in Anna Kendrick's role. Like, that would have been. I think we can all agree. David, tell me about your journey, your adversity.
Well, I never wanted to do anything else but be an actor. Like Brittney, I was a musician. I went to school for music. I was a jazz major. And did many years of musical theater and spent many years playing in bands and all that sort of stuff. But acting was always there. I started acting when I was like, I think 11. It was the first time I did an actual play that had a script and an audience and the stuff. I was putting on my own shows at home for ages. So acting was all I ever wanted to do. And interestingly, I mean, that was it. I had no aspirations to go into writing or directing or any of that stuff. And acting really fed me, because it's as the ladies were describing, it's like it gives you an opportunity to visit facets of yourself, but also of humanity in general, that most people never really have an opportunity or a reason to stop and investigate. And for me, that's just always fed me. And it's I think what it ends with, for all of us who spend any number of years in this kind of pursuit, we become a bit of a psychiatrist, you know what I mean, for ourselves and others, successful or no. But but it's like you learn things about the human animal that otherwise you might never have considered.
Yeah.
And so it's always been very empowering to me. But also, you know, it was a very it was motivated by my own interest in my own pursuits, you know. And I did theater for years, and I composed music for years and performed it for audiences for years. But really, my work in anime led to something that gave me more reason to be than anything else ever has. And it's when it all started, when I played Bulat in Akame ga Kill, which was the first time I encountered a character who was gay and who wasn't like Jack from Will and Grace. You know what I mean? Like I had never encountered a gay character in a narrative whose only purpose for being in the narrative was to be the gay one. That's epidemic in American narrative, and even the good examples are bad examples, you know.
Right.
So that blew my mind, because again, not being familiar with anime, I didn't know how prevalent that was.
Yeah.
And as soon as I encountered Bulat, I began really diving into the presence of that material, and it very quickly led me to a mission that like has given me fire and purpose and meaning that I never got from any other pursuit in my entire life. And it's like I will never let it go now, because it's an opportunity to reach beyond my own space and be of service to people who I know from the experiences of my own youth growing up as a gay kid in Texas in the 80s. There are people who need to know that there are others out there telling their stories. And anime has led me to that. And it's certainly, that's not the only pursuit I have. It's not the only thing I want to do in anime, but it's certainly the most meaningful and important thing I think I have ever done or may ever do.
Yeah.
So that's given me that's really fueled the fire for me.
And I would normally follow up with something that big, but I'm going to follow that up with 90 minutes tomorrow.
Yes, we have tomorrow to talk of this.
8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. There's my shameless plug. Do any of you have a fairy tale song on your device, on your iPhone, your iPad? Like, do any of you listen to a fairy tale song in your daily lives?
I don't know if it's on my phone, but I know it's saved somewhere. The intro, like the original opening theme.
The intro, like to the anime, not like the fairy tale theme song, but like that very first like upbeat poppy. Is that the one?
No. Yeah. The intro theme song. I know we've had like multiple iterations throughout the seasons, but that original. Okay, but not the fairy tale song itself. Okay, so I'm headed to. I don't think I can use YouTube while I'm streaming on YouTube. Can I? I feel like it warned me against that. But I have several seasons of fairy tales. This is where I'm completely giving myself away as a fan, that I have all this on my phone. So we're going to pick a favorite from what you play?
Boy, I guess you could. The fans' question was just, what is your favorite fairy tale theme song? This is... where's my headset? I gotta turn my headset off because it's playing. This is what they call the fairy tale main theme.
So sweet.
Oh, I can only listen to so much of it without. So I'm gonna
It feels very cinematic for an anime theme.
It's because it's the greatest anime of all time. So I mean, there's that. I don't make any bones. Like nothing. As much as I love Yamana's First Time, which is probably my third favorite anime, Fairy Tail is. So for me, I'll answer that. This is. I'll tell you what. When I do a convention, it's my sport. Doing a convention, it's where I shine. It's my musical theater. If you come by the booth, somebody made a comment earlier, like you go by the booth, Brad is doing 1,000 things simultaneously. It is where I am the most spectacular. Probably I put in so many hours, right? 10,000 hours, you're an expert. I either start with You Say Run from My Hero Academia, which is when it's the song that plays in the background when we first learn what to go beyond means. And All Might is facing losing his life in season 1. They've come up with this whole plan and they're going to kill All Might. And this song comes on and he explains to people what it means to go beyond what your limits are. And so I'll listen to that. And the other one.
Oh yeah, Fairy Tail in the club.
So that is when Natsu fights Zero, and everyone has gone to a different Lacrima. And I shared this at the last panel we had, Cherami, when Lucy's like, if I have to throw myself against this Lacrima, I'm going to do my part, because everybody all of a sudden knows like Natsu's the one who got stuck with fighting the big boss.
Yeah.
And that he's alone. And he said, no way, buddy, I'm not alone. If you think you got me alone, then you don't understand that I can feel my friends right now. And then like lunges for his face to punch him in the, it's the Dragon Force song. So that's my, if anyone else, go ahead and take it. But that is I only start the show with either Dragon Force or You Say Run in My Hero Academia. Anybody else with? Rachel calls it emotional porn. I will like, there's media that I know that like, I have a near photographic memory. It's one of the big blessings of my ADHD has been a near photographic memory. And so I can recall the moment of the anime, what's happening, which characters are in the scene. But if I've seen it, then I know it. And so
if it hit you emotionally, for sure.
So if I need to feel like that again, I can dial that back up.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then I just scream and then I try to sell as much as I can. And then I go spend all the money on Color World. That's all right. Fairy Tail. Let's see. Okay. Oh, so what does it feel like when somebody finds you at a show and they bring up a character that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know anybody cared about Brittney. What about?
It feels amazing. You're like, I can't believe that you've seen this, because sometimes you do titles that even recently have done titles that just didn't get as much exposure as I thought they deserved. And so it's like, it almost takes from you that like you experienced such magic recording it. You watching it and being in it, you experience so much magic. And then finally someone comes up and says they've seen it and they experienced it too. And you got to, it's wonderful.
So is there a particular one that you're just hoping, like, I just want somebody to talk to me about? I know David has that for sure. David is just waiting for people. Is there one for you, Brittney, that's like you just want to talk about? There's quite a few.
There's quite a few, honestly. Pretty much every time you do a new show, you want, when you go to a con, for someone to have already seen it, even though like something might have just come out. Like I want to talk about To Love Ru, and like the last time I went to a show, it hadn't come out yet. So like, you can't, tell anybody about it. But Maidens in Your Savage Season, I really was hoping it's almost like Be Gotta HK, but like a realistic version.
Yeah.
And it's more like real life issues, and it's a bunch of girls in high school in a book club. So it's like a slice of life version of Be Gotta. It still has the funny, awkward moments. But it kind of goes all and actually how you were saying like with Love Stage, it for you it was the same thing as Be Gotta at the same time, but it's got both of that in there. It's got everything in there. So it was I just thought it was beautiful.
What's it called?
Oh, Maidens in Your Savage Season.
Okay, and I'm typing it into the chat right now, so we have it forever. Oh, maidens, in your
Savage season.
Okay.
And it was really beautiful. It was women in a book club, and
Okay.
it was really cool. It actually dealt with all kinds of issues, even issues that maybe I never dealt with in high school, but some people are dealing with. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of that, like that. Wow, I never thought, like, there's one character that dates a teacher. I never thought of like how, and it shows both sides of that. And like, in you know,
is it in college? What age are they? What age?
No, they're in high school.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, that has happened.
Sorry.
David, is there one for you that you're secretly waiting for somebody to ask you about that you've done?
I mean, every once in a while at a con or via direct messages online, whatever, someone will mention one that I find very surprising. That, of course, I'm always giddy when someone talks about any of my rainbow colored shows. The Love Stage or Hitorijime My Hero or Bloom Into You or Kase-sama Morning Glories. I'm always thrilled when people bring up Mrs. Hudson from Case File Kabukicho. But these are these shows are not unknown, but like it always seemed to me throughout the entirety of my career in anime that the characters I found the most like personal connectivity with were the ones in the quietest shows, but like the least watched, least recognized, not the explosive titles. For me, Garo, that first season, Garo, the animation, that Herman Luis it's some of the most fun I've had. Berg Katse in Gatchaman Crowds was one of my favorites to do. Just like the amount of fun in the studio doing that character. Like it rocked my universe, and it's always a delight when people bring those up. It's always very rewarding when someone, it's never not rewarding when someone talks to us about Fairy Tail or My Hero Academia or, these shows that have just galvanized such a huge portion of the fandom. But likewise, it's very rewarding when there's a show you just never hear about. And someone will bring you up a little, print that they pulled off the computer and printed it up. And we're like, I love this show. Will you sign it? That's always extremely rewarding. And it's,
cool.
It feels nice.
Cherami, do you have one that you just like, you're like, oh man, I hope somebody asked me about this weekend?
There was one experience. I mean, like Brittney said, new stuff that we've worked on that we haven't been allowed to talk about is always exciting. Obviously it's great. Anytime I get so surprised anytime anyone wants to talk to me about an animated character because I'm like, you care? I just did the voice, and they don't care. They said that is just mind blowing to me every time. So I think it's very exciting. But there was one convention I went to, and I was in Mob Psycho 100, and I played Tomei, and she is insane. And a person, we were trying to put together a brief clip for a voice acting panel that we were doing at Anime Expo last year. And so I was trying to put all this work together, and we're trying to find clips of us on YouTube. And I found that somebody picked some of their favorite moments from Tomei and edited them together. And I was like, first of all, this is so much work that you have done for me. Bless you. But also, this is so fun to see just the range of her. And then I was at another convention, and a person came up. There's so many characters, and she shows up for a couple episodes here and there, and she's nuts. But a person made me a giant plushie of her and handed it to me on stage after a panel. I was like, this is beautiful. Where do you want me to sign? Because I'm like, if somebody's going to put in all of this work, clearly it's for their own collection. She's like, no, I made it for you. There's never any Tomei merch, and you did such a great job. And I was like, I love this. She's sitting right there, actually, my little Tomei plushie.
Cool.
So
that's super dope.
Yeah.
Right. If you had to steal a role from somebody that's on the panel, which role would?
I don't want to do that. For the same reason that like I said, any role that I've been cast in, it's been like at a moment in time.
Yeah.
I know Brittney and I have auditioned, especially on camera stuff. I know she and I have auditioned on camera for the same roles. And sometimes she will book stuff, sometimes I'll book stuff, and sometimes it's someone else. And I never think, because when I see what she did or I see who the actor that got the job on camera or voiceover, I go, oh, yeah, I never would have played it that way. But in the picture of the universe that they're creating, that's the way that it goes. And that is just not intrinsically, when I read the material, how that would work. So if I took somebody else's role, it would be like me trying to do my version of Judy Garland's Dorothy to try to be in The Wizard of Oz. It wouldn't be Judy Garland being Dorothy. It would be Cherami ripping off Judy Garland. It's just not right.
So Shirley Temple, who wasn't Judy Garland, and that's why she didn't end up being in that role, because she was not as good as Judy Garland.
And she would have done a fine job for A Wizard of Oz that was tailor-made for Shirley Temple, but not when they were creating a different story with a different tone, with whatever else. So yeah, it's always heartbreaking anytime you audition, and this has happened so many times, and it never hurts any less when you put your heart and soul and you create this character and you can see the story and you can imagine yourself in the booth and you can imagine yourself on set. You can imagine how it's going to look. And then it comes out and you go, this is the movie that you created, or this is the anime that you created. It's good. I like it, but it's not like when you read the book and everybody goes, it's not like the book. It's like, well, that's not what they saw when they read the book. If you would have made a completely different adaptation. So yeah, it sucks when you imagine it and say like, oh, I'd be so great for this role. And you would be great for that role if a different person was producing it, if a different cast existed there. So
I think that's probably one of the things I'm going to take away from today is instead of looking like, I mean, there's obviously a competition. There's obviously a limited, when a project's being put together, only so many people are going to get cast, right? And everyone that isn't cast. But I think that idea of like, it's that role is going to find you in the place where you're at, that so.
Yeah, a friend of mine told me, if it is for you, like it's that famous saying, if it is for you, it will not pass you. So there have been times where I've had the worst audition ever, like could not have been worse. And they call and they're like, we're offering her the role. That is exactly, I'm like, how? I did not do, the job requirement was not there. I don't even know if I can do this. What did you see? And then there have been times where I've like, I leave the room and I'm like, if I do not get a call, somebody in there was just living in it more than me, because I was in it. And they call and they're like, they loved you, but they're going a different direction. And I'm like, but I was on my A game. And then you see what they did and you go, okay, it's not that I was wrong and that they were right. It was just that it was different, and that's cool. And I've been trying to reframe my brain is it's not one person gets the job, and it's competition, but like ultimately when you read a script, when you really want a project, it's because you go, this story needs to be told. And I'm so excited that this is going to exist in the universe and it's going to speak to someone like it spoke to me. And if I'm not the person that is supposed to be a part of that story, that's fine. At least it's getting told. And somebody is still going to be able to receive it. Because there's been so many times, I'm sure you guys have worked on stuff that have never seen the light of day. And you're like, man, this is a great story. And it's just not getting told. And that sucks. But then there have been other times where I would have loved to have worked on this project. I would have loved to have been a part of it. But at least people are getting to see it and be impacted by it more than just the script when I read it and was impacted by it. So,
yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I could never take a role away from Brittney or Cherami. That would be weird.
It would be interesting. If Brittney and I was going to say if Brittney and I did a role together and we Pete and repeated our performances and then pitch shifted it down, would a Brittney and a Cherami equal one David? I don't think that's the way.
I don't know.
Oh man. Well, we know, Brittney, you took some boy's job when you got Black Star. Somebody got sent home. Some little boy got sent home, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna give it to this girl. She's done a way better job than you have."
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, it was a girl in the Japanese for Black Star.
Oh, really?
There was a girl in the Japanese.
What about well, Luffy's played by Colleen. There's another boy that I'm like totally oh, Brina. Mineta is Brina.
She's fantastic. Oh my gosh, I love her. I mean, obviously that character is like, hard to deal with, but
somebody wrote in on one of her prints that they're gonna make her sign I had a good poop this morning and it makes my ball stickier.
Oh my god.
That was the one on the Mineta print.
Except for she would say, well, I can't do it like her, but she's
yeah. She's gonna. You can just hear her signing it like in Mineta's voice.
So funny.
I love it.
No, I mean, though I will say, I mean, I'm not a director. David, you're a director, so you could actually like talk more on this. But I would say that in the end, if you, even though you might really want to role and you might think, oh, I'd be great for this. The director, like you said, sees this whole picture, and you're only seeing like this tiny little window. And so you have to trust that the person that's putting the painting together, it knows what this is going to look like. And that maybe you might be good if you were with this person, but actually now when I hear you paired with this person, you don't really sound like where you should. And trust me, it sucks. It can hurt. If you really had your mind set on something and you had your heart, it can hurt. But in the end, it usually ends up being someone, first of all, that we know and love. And you're like, oh yeah, except for they're perfect. So, it's never, it's almost like instead of turning it into like this hardcore, like, make it all about, it's more that I'm happy that that person got the role and that they get to do that. And that, you know what I mean? And that they're perfect. And that, so it's kind of like doubling down on what you were saying, and that it at least the story's getting told. And, so.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of, I don't begrudge any actors for being hungry. You know what I mean? I don't begrudge any actors for wanting to go after a role and knowing that they really are feeling it. It was as soon as I started directing, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of sudden outreach. You know what I mean? And particularly if people knew or suspected that certain shows were coming into my hands, and it's and again, because I lived so long doing nothing but acting, I get it. I've sent a few thirsty emails myself. But yeah, and it can be difficult because that by and large these are, even when I'm getting messages from like established professionals who are inquiring about a show coming up or a role coming up, and I know that these actors are amazing and that they're tried and true and they've got a record of excellence, but I know there's a sound I need. A certain pairing I need. And to me, casting is like, it's like stocking a string section. You know what I mean? If I have a violin here, I need a cello here, not a bassoon. You know what I mean? So it's like it's music to me, and that's how casting happens for me, and that's what really, because my education is in music, so all things really come down to music for me. Whether I'm acting or directing or whatever, it's all sort of hinged on the musical. Not the Broadway musical. I mean, it's hinged on musical elements for me. The sort of the complexity of the ensemble, and so I mean, it can be tough. It can be tough, and actors are generally right when they tell you they really get a role and they know that they can really do some justice to it. They're usually right. But sometimes you have to go with as Brittney describes, it's the bigger picture. And sometimes putting an actor in this role means you can't get away with using this one in another role, and then you got to pair them differently with this other. It's a very complicated chess game.
Chess was, as soon as you were saying, I'm like, man, it sounds like a lot like chess. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna attempt. I love to let people talk, and so I'm sure like everyone on the right hand side with questions. Hopefully, you guys appreciate the pushed answer. Like, I feel like if we all know, if we're like staring at the clock, then we answer differently than if we're just free to answer. And so hopefully everybody has felt like just free to answer. I'm going to attempt to do a lightning round.
Lightning round.
I'm going to rotate. I'm going to right. And then, cause anyway, I don't think the universe is fair. I try to be fair. I don't. Okay. So, no, usually Brittney, I feel like you had one this morning. What, you have an embarrassing moment recording a scene?
My whole life is embarrassing. I'm sorry. I don't think I go through a day or a recording session without making an absolute fool of myself. I don't think there's any way that I can do that. I always am just like, oh, I talk too much. Oh, foot in my mouth. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Like, there's no day that I don't have that when I record pretty much ever.
Just a bunch of burping and farting in the booth.
Sometimes it'll be that I'm saying something to myself because I think the talk back is off.
Yeah.
No, but I shouldn't have said that. I kind of sounded like a grandma when I did that. Oh, well, that's what you said, Brennan. You sound like a crazy person. And then I'm like, oh, they were listening. That's really embarrassing.
Verified.
Beth. Okay. So, Cherami, professionally, is there a role or a project that just like it's undeniable the impact it's had on your professional career? Like, you know that this thing that you're working on right now is the result of XYZ.
Oh, there's a couple. But I never know. At conventions, I'll talk to fans and they'll say, hey, I love this role. And I know that some are more popular on a larger scale than others. Fairy Tale is one, Sword Art is one. But then, there's been some where in the last few
Persona 5,
years,
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, the last few years, people have started mentioning, like, I'll go in for a session and they'll say, hey, you played this one role and we really liked it. And while we were developing the game, we just kind of like pinned you as a type for this. And that's Gage has come up with that one a little bit. And then yesterday I worked on the Netflix adaptation of Eva, and someone said pen yesterday, and I was like, pen, and okay, good, I love it. So I guess a penguin.
Okay, David, how do you prepare to be a character? Do you write? Do you listen? What gets you in that space to step into the booth as that person?
Usually, if I have to do any kind of prep work, it's music. I'll be listening to a particular song or a couple of songs on the way to a session just to sort of get my heart rate in the right rhythm.
Okay. Thankfully, I guess I thought I had missed more questions. Okay. We're on Brittney now. On camera acting, stage acting, voice. Oh, you take it stage, camera, booth? Where do you really
okay, if I could just pick any outlet, of course I would do stage.
Okay.
But I love voice acting. There was just something about being on a stage and having an immediate feedback from the audience and performing in that moment. And I don't, being big, being giant, you can just be ridiculous. I don't, and you're a little bit more limited in the booth. I can't, blow out the mic and I can't do all that. I don't know. There was just so much freedom. I felt
freedom of like the stage is so big and the audience is so, and you can yell in the theater. Okay.
In musicals, because I like busting out in song for no reason whatsoever. That was really fun.
Oh, okay. David, we need to write a musical for everyone.
Agreed.
Yeah, for sure. Cherami, what do you? Yeah, right. Yeah, Cherami, what do you say to a younger version of yourself? What's one thing you tell young Cherami?
Well, I told James earlier. I would tell young Cherami not to be so stressed and not to be so scared. It's all gonna work out. Don't be afraid about what people think about what you're doing. Don't be afraid if this is your last job. Don't be afraid if you're making the right choice or doing it right. Just do it. It's fine. It'll all work out. You'll be okay.
David, do you have a favorite character in Gray?
It's Gray because he keeps taking off his clothes. What can I tell you? I'm a simple man.
Very, very simple.
He's like, I have a criteria, and there it is.
Well, you'll be happy to know, David, that when we had Newton on last week and we were talking, he was like detailing his life. He's like, oh, I get home from the hospital and I'm on my front porch and I take off all my scrubs and then I go in that. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Nude's just like saving lives. Like, whatever.
I was like, so at every moment in your life, you're great. Like, you just cannot stop taking off your, like, it's just part of, it was like someone got typecast. And he's like,
it's like I walk in the door and I just strip because I got to throw it in the laundry immediately.
That was
Just
great.
this great hero with the six.
I love that first reaction.
You know, saving lives.
Saving lives with less clothes.
He's a real life hero.
He is. A shirtless real life hero.
And those are my favorite.
Thank you for getting me that. I threw you that softball so I could find a question. I don't have to feel so bad. I missed. Okay. All right. I'm gonna play. Okay. If you're okay, who's up? Oh, David said gray, like in 2 seconds. Brittany said stage. Cherami, if you were one of your characters in real life, who would you be?
Wait. If I were an anime character?
Yeah, if you were one of your I mean, I guess you could pick anybody. It doesn't say your character. I was just trying to narrow the scope. But who would you, if you could wake up tomorrow for 24 hours and be one of your characters, who would you be?
I don't even know. Oh my God, this answer would change like on a moment-to-moment basis. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what I last worked on, because what I last worked on I can't talk about. Okay, I guess the last thing I worked on that I can talk about is Sarada in Boruto, so that's what we'll go with.
And isn't she another sassy, like super? Somebody told me
she's definitely got some spunk to her and some sass, but she's surrounded by like a couple guys who get derailed very easily, and so we liken it to like Harry Potter. She's like the Hermione of the trio. That she's like, guys, let's focus. We got to save lives, and you guys are being morons and playing cards.
Any project, Brittany, that specifically inspired you? Like you recorded it, you came home, and on your way home from Dallas, like all you're thinking about is like, oh man, this character. Oh man, this.
I mean, yeah, most of them. But I was like, I'm trying to think of like just one. But I'm having trouble thinking because it's hard to narrow that down. I don't know. I when I recorded Slime recently, I know this sounds ridiculous that Rimuru could be inspirational because obviously Rimuru is like it's mostly a comedy, but it's one of those things where every time that I was in the booth, like there was so much. It was so great working with Cliff. It was so great having that back and forth. It was fluid, and whenever you have like that fluid experience with the director and it's just so funny. Like the script was funny, and we got to say things because the way the Japanese was written that you wouldn't be able to say. Like I got to say my guy and like bra and like ridiculous stuff. And that experience itself, because it was already written in, we weren't changing anything. It was just written in that way. And I don't know. It's just something about it. It just felt really fun.
Good. All right, David. Last question. Haiku. Is there any type of like music associated for you in your head with?
Yes, it evolved quite naturally, but there was a scene I think in the first season where Ukai is singing to himself.
Yeah,
and Takeda sneaks up and spies on him, and we decided. We decided to make him like a secret closet crooner.
Yeah.
So I decided at that moment that he will tell no one. But Keishin is like in his headphones, he's always listening to like Tony Bennett, you know.
Oh,
fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Yeah, he's like he's listening to Bing Crosby and like he loves the crooners.
Wait,
I love it.
Important question: if there was a scene where because sometimes they make us hum in the background, would you be humming that song?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Then it's legit. Okay. Thank you. We, the four of us, could clearly just do this for the rest of the night. But I have to throw a bunch of you to different places on the internet. You have hangouts coming up.
Brad's controlling the situation again.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Pleasure. You are the best. All right. We'll see you soon on the internet. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye,
You're awesome.